And when I say I don't want children because universe forbid a woman just wants to go through her life and not have to worry about everybody else, it's not for the potential physical aspects about my body changing, not because I won't be able to spare the time to complete sleeping dogs at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's also not because I don't want to be spending my time cleaning snot off the walls. I mean, who would, to be fair? But because I simply do not want them. I am not somebody who hates children. I'm not an evil, lonely, boyfriendless woman who also won't have somebody to wipe my ass when I'm older. Oh, it'll be lucky if I even get there, love. I was having quite the interesting conversation with my podiatrist the other day. Funnily enough, the conversation wasn't around my toes. Yeah, so over the past couple of years, my toes have really not enjoyed my daily platform wearing. Something about children came up because it's currently the school holidays over here in Australia, and let me just tell you, going out anywhere right now fucking sucks. You got kids all up in the sushi train just touching all the domes, potentially gonna give you the flu. Like, can I just please eat my sushi in peace? Also, Caitlin, can we just stop yapping today? Thank you, love. I asked my podiatrist if she had any children of her own, and she said, no, I've been with my partner for quite some time now, and we are just not interested in having children. There's no big reason. It's not because I can't have any. It's simply because I don't want them. And then we got to discussing how great it is that in the modern day, women are allowed to have choices on what their life looks like. It's not a requirement anymore to have children if you don't want to. It's not looked down upon by most people, but it's actually becoming a more accepted way of life. And women 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago just didn't have the same choices that we do today. Bringing a child into the world involves so many things that I think most of us aren't prepared for, even in the slightest. And even if you do just so happen to think that you've got it all down, you've read all of the books, you know everything there is to know about becoming a parent, you still don't know it all. Well, the number of regretful parents is growing, and the stories of how many parents wish they chose the child-free life is extremely important in a time where Gen Z women specifically, are being guilted into having kids because we're gonna go extinct. How could you? And do you want to know something? A dirty little secret of mine? Would it actually be so bad if the human race one day were to go extinct? Maybe then Mother Nature could heal, wars could stop, and the world could finally be at fucking peace. I think it's largely in due part to the conversations around being child-free and what that means for people, that there is now a space opening up for those who regret their children. And I think whilst there certainly is a way to go about talking about regretting children, it's also quite the fine line that people teeter on. You don't want your child to ever feel unwanted because of your poor decision making. I wish someone had told me that I would regret having a baby. Everyone always rags on about how you'll regret not having kids in the future, but it's never the other way around. I personally think that a lot of this could be avoided if we normalize the idea that you could potentially regret having kids. So, you know, maybe sleep on the decision for a while. A lot of people come into parenthood thinking they have it all figured out. I mean, all you really need is for the want to have kids, right? Not exactly. Something I think isn't spoken about enough is the potential for a parent to dislike their child when they turn into a legal adult. And then love becomes conditional, which doesn't make sense because did you not choose to have a kid? I thought love would arrive like a sunrise, warm, automatic, obvious. Everyone said it would change everything, and they were right, just not how they meant. Days are long in a way I never knew. Not full, not rich, just heavy. Minutes drip instead of move. There is noise where my thoughts used to be, and need where my self used to sit. People call it magic, I call it work that never ends. I miss boredom. I miss choosing nothing. I miss being tired and it meaning sleep, not starting again. They say it gets better, they say it is a phase, but what if it's not just a phase? Or what if it does get better and it still isn't enough? This isn't joy, it isn't fun, it isn't me. And admitting that feels like breaking a rule no one ever warned me about, but everyone expects me to follow. I am here, I am doing it, but somewhere inside, quiet and persistent, is the truth I am not allowed to say out loud. I regret this. That was quite the gut-wrenching read, and it's honestly one of my biggest fears becoming a parent. Like, you have all of these dreams and ideas, and you envision up these entire scenarios that don't really quite pan out the way that you thought it would. This could mean a million things for this new mum. Maybe it isn't regret, maybe it's postpartum depression, maybe she is going through something that is causing her to feel this way. But it is scary, and it's a chance that I'm not willing to take. Because according to research published by the National Library of Medicine, 5 to 14% of parents regret having children. Rest assured, mama, you are not alone. I think something people tend to brush over is postpartum depression and just how present and real it is, and how that could become your very reality. That is also something that I think people need to responsibly acknowledge. Like, postpartum depression doesn't just affect those who are already predisposed into having mental illnesses themselves. You don't need to have a history of mental illnesses for this to affect you. I have MDD and anxiety. That means I am somebody who is very much at risk of developing postpartum depression. And to be quite honest with you guys, that is also something that factors into my decision in not having children. There aren't many things that I regret in life, but I also hold so much regret over things that I didn't do earlier, or that I haven't done because my mental health holds me back. It's not that I think I'd do anything to my child, make their lives a living hell, or even be a shit mum. I just think for me, it would probably be right to make a sound decision and say that I don't think I'm necessarily mentally prepared enough, nor prepared enough in general to go through something so fucking life-changing. It's completely normal to not like certain areas of parenting, such as getting up in the middle of the night to attend to a nightmare, having to show up every single day, even if you are sick, constantly hearing mum, 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 mum every 3 seconds. Meanwhile, you can't even produce a cohesive thought. Turns out parenthood, rather motherhood, because we only ever really hear of mums regretting having their children, bit of nibble for thought, isn't all it's cracked up to be.
If you are debating having children, please stop and listen. My dream since I was a little girl was to have a baby. I wanted to be a mom. All I ever wanted was one little girl, and I was going to name her Harley, and my dream was going to be, that was it. That was the dream. I actually was given my dream. I married everything I ever put on paper for a guy that I would want. He's that and more. And then I get pregnant and I have a daughter. I have a girl. Oh my God. Dream come true. I was like, this is great. Because I've only really ever wanted one child and I wanted just one girl. And I was like, well, thank you, God. I regret making being a mom my dream. And I wish that I did not have that as a dream. I have been severely disappointed with the dream. And my daughter is the cutest, most beautiful, fun, smart little girl. And I love her more than anything on this planet. I would give my life for her in 2 seconds. I would do it all over again for her 1,000,000 times over. All of that is facts. But what also is a fact at the same time is I was dreaming of a life that I had no idea no idea what it was about. It's not just a few moments of like, no, don't do that. A few smelly diapers, and you're just gonna have this happy-go-lucky fucking family. No, that's not reality. That's not real life.
You know, it kind of makes me wonder, what do people think parenting really entails? I am very much aware that if I were to have a child, I would have to dedicate my entire being to raising that person. If I were to have kids, they deserve the best of me. Nothing less. They didn't get to have a decision in the matter. I did. I made that choice. No excuses, because that's a whole ass human you are bringing into the world that has to deal with the consequences of your decision. I am very aware of the challenges and difficulties that come with motherhood. For fuck's sake, I'm an eldest daughter. Do with that what you will. And look, man, I'm trying to heal a bunch of shit that nobody else wants to do, and it's exhausting, it is frustrating, and you're telling me people do that and raise kids at the same time? I couldn't. I had a massive mental breakdown a couple of weeks ago to the point where it felt like my body was literally unable. Like, I felt debilitated. How do you have the time to come down from something like that? It must be such a confronting feeling and experience to have, having dreamt up this entire life that you wanted, getting that, and then realizing, hang on a second, I should have never centered my entire life around becoming a mother. And I won't lie right now, that is a little bit confusing to me. Never when I was a kid did I ever dream about having my own family, to be quite honest. That was just, the logistics of running a family has always been quite stressful to me, because it's like, if I can't fix other people's problems for them, if I can't even fix my own problems, how do you even have a family to begin with, you know? But admittedly, that's like having any sort of dream. Dreaming of a world where you're 100% mentally healthy and the way that you would conquer everything in life. And then you actually get there and you're like, okay, yeah, no, it's not just about being mentally healthy. It's a whole thing. But when it comes to centering your life around having a child and then realizing it's not just about giving a kid a cute name and dressing them up in cute clothes and feeding them fucking applesauce and what have you, you are entirely responsible for this human. Now, of course, once they get to a certain age, you don't really become responsible for the decisions they make in their life, but you are responsible for how their life turns out to be. People don't factor in so many things when having kids. It's not all a positive experience. It's not just hearing crying throughout the night when they're a baby, buying new pants every 3 months because they won't stop having growth spurts at like 8 years old, or dealing with the teenage angst when they're 15. It's everything in between these periods of life that I just truly believe people do not speak about it enough. Having a kid is such a large undertaking, and I just don't think people really understand the severity of it.
You know what is real life? Me being at home, thinking that being a stay-at-home mom was a dream, and I actually was given the opportunity. And now we're in a position where I don't really have a choice but to stay home with her right now. It's temporary. It's temporary, thank God. But being a mother is the most draining experience of your life. It changes every single person around you. Every single person around you. Every single friend, every family member, the relationship with your husband, the relationship with yourself. I am so fat. I don't recognize myself at all. I was so much more fit before I had her. I was geared the fuck in. None of my clothes fit me. My husband works a lot more than he used to. So spending time with him, it's not like it used to be. We are in bed the latest at 9 o'clock every day. The world is the most terrifying place that it's ever been in for us as a country. And the thought that I can't do whatever I have to do to survive because I have her and I need to make sure that she survives, and I'm terrified of what her future is going to look like. I can't take a shit by myself. I can't eat when I want to. I can't go out and just get a Dunkin' whenever I want to. I can't film a video whenever I want to. I can't scream whenever I want to. I can't go to dinner whenever I want to. And let me explain this, because if someone were to tell me that with how bad I wanted children, I would have just said, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. I love my future baby more than anything in the world. I want to make that sacrifice. You don't know what you don't know.
Truth Nuke, award-winning philosophical words said right here. I wish people understood this concept more than they think they do. I wish people were willing to understand when they were wrong. I wish people understood that they don't fucking know everything there is to know about anything. You're always and forever going to be a student in this life, whether you believe that you know everything about a topic or anything in general. A lot of parents aren't willing to open their minds and learn new things, and then end up fucking up their children for the rest of their lives. Because apparently there's no handbook on how to be the best ever parent. Parenting a child isn't this new age phenomenon where we've only just discovered in the recent 10 years how to do it correctly. No, there's always been education if you searched hard enough for it. Not only just that, but parents these days especially don't have an excuse because the resources that we have at our fingertips. But for a lot of parents, it's too hard to actually venture beyond the thought of, I want kids. So what are you going to do about that? Are you just going to have them and that's it? There's nothing that you really have to change about yourself? I think it's a really important responsibility you carry being a parent. And look, there's always nuance wherever you turn in a conversation. Sometimes you genuinely cannot control the outcome of your child's life. You could quite literally be a textbook perfect parent and still the outcome of your child's life says otherwise. Whilst we can acknowledge that, parenthood is no joke, and I cannot believe for decades we've normalized this blasé parenting under the guise of, I didn't know it was gonna be this hard.
You thinking that sacrifice, all of those things, isn't going to change you. And not just change you for good, like some of parts of me have changed for the worst, okay? I wish I got it earlier. Okay, I wish I just had the click earlier that this isn't a life path that I have to take as a woman. If you are child free, sometimes all you have to know is that you would be a good mother. Sometimes you just have to tell yourself, if I had kids, I would be the best mom. And you would have confidence in that. And then choose to not have children. I am trying to save you. Dream bigger. Dream bigger. Do not try to make the family that you've always wanted. Don't even do it.
I didn't think she'd get me so emo there. Let's take a second and really let that set in, because I know so many of you who are watching in the car, maybe you're on the toilet, maybe you're on a walk. You probably wish things were different in your family and within your family's dynamic. And that's made you consider having children of your own. A lot of people do it. They were mistreated as a child. They didn't have the family that they deserved. And so they create that family. They create that dynamic that they so desperately wish they had have had when they were kids. I think having children for the sake of righting wrongs that happened to you as a kid is all well and good in theory. Those kids aren't responsible for your healing. I think it's normal to some degree for people who are wanting to become parents to kind of be the parent they wish their parent had have been, to be the one to have protected yourself, to be the one to have made more educated choices and decisions, to be the one you felt like you never had. Now, this may be controversial of me to say, but it's not up to a child to do all of that healing for you. I just feel like that's so much responsibility to put onto a child who doesn't deserve that kind of trauma in their lives, you know? And that's not to say don't have children if you have trauma with your family or your parents or whatnot, but don't have that be your only purpose in having children, because like I said before, children are such an undertaking, and to solely have them to heal the child within yourself is just a little bit crazy in my opinion. I personally think it's much easier to live with not having children and being like, you know, I wonder what life would have been like if I had kids, instead of playing with a whole human being's life just because you want to change the past. Another aspect that I think we need to address is losing yourself in becoming a parent, and how the role of being a parent shapes your identity to not only yourself but everybody around you. For example, I have so many hobbies that I love doing. I love crafts, I love sewing, I love playing video games, I love baking, I love painting. There are so many things I fucking love doing in this world. Shit, man, I mean, my entire identity relies on me being creative. I love using my brain, I love using my hands, and I just love creating. If I couldn't do any of that anymore, I would lose such a huge part of myself. And having children would directly impact my ability to be able to have the time to invest in these sorts of things. There isn't staying up late anymore, it's staying up late to attend to a baby. There's no wasting 3 hours midday on a Saturday playing video games. No, those 3 hours are crucial in my child's life. Or rather, unborn child, because let's not bring that into existence, thank you very much. But Caitlin, don't you know that you could just include kids with your hobbies? Congratulations for figuring out that you can do things with other people, I guess. It's not quite that simple, because who said I wanted other people involved in my hobbies? I also don't really have the patience to sit there and stop a whole toddler from eating beads every 3 seconds because they look so tasty, apparently.
I was not prepared in motherhood to constantly have to find the patience. Like, I have to find the patience all hours of the day to do everything and anything, because no one told me how fucking taxing it is to hear someone say you're fucking, my God, stay up. No one tells you how fucking taxing it is to hear someone whine or cry or say mama, 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 mama all the time. 24/7. Like, there's no way to mentally prepare for your brain to handle that. And on top of it, all you're trying to do is things for them. Like, you're trying to make food, or you're trying to get dishes done so that you can have dishes to make more food, or you're cleaning laundry, or you're cleaning up a mess or something. You're constantly doing something to care for the house or for the child or for the children or kids or animals or whatever. And then they don't see that. They only see the fact that you're not paying attention to them, so then they want more of your attention. And you're like, I'm already giving you all of my fucking attention. I know you don't realize it, but I am. And you're running on fumes, and you just need 5 minutes where you don't have someone saying something, making noise. Like, the auditory overload is insane. And then it's like, what sucks even more right now is, like, I don't have my car, and so I feel so fucking trapped. And my husband, like, he works so hard for our family, and so he's finally gonna do something he hasn't done since we've been together, which is go hunting. We've been together for 5 years, and this man has talked about it all 5 years. Like, he's finally gonna go. And all I can think about is how I'm gonna be solo parenting for a couple days, and it's not even that much, but it's just like, I want a break.
Okay, we're gonna stop that right here, because not once in this TikTok, granted, I have paused it maybe a little too early, I have not once heard her talk about what she is going to be doing. Like, yes, her husband is also very much as deserving as she is of taking a break and doing something for himself. But I feel like the main parent, which is usually the mum in most cases, doesn't ever really get that same sort of ability to have that break away from kids for a couple of days. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. But where are her hobbies? That's something else I didn't hear in the video. I didn't hear anything that she does for herself. Again, this is just, you know, a 60-second TikTok, give or take. But where exactly is her time to be able to fill up her cups so that she's able to fill up everybody else's around them? This may be controversial, maybe a little controversial. I don't fucking know. I personally think being a mother is one of the hardest fucking jobs in the world. I would rather do anything but that. I already have enough to deal with my own self. I cannot do another person. Do you know what I mean? I'm not 100% saying that she's more deserving of, you know, a little 3-day break than her husband, but I am kind of saying that. This is the part of motherhood that scares me to no end, because what the fuck do you mean you have no time to do anything for yourself? You can't even take a fucking shit in peace? I think something a lot of us child-free people take for granted is having days where we can just focus on ourselves and do whatever we need to do to fill our own cups. I'm not speaking for everybody, but I know that sometimes I sure fucking take my time for granted, because there'll be nights where I'm just like, oh, gaga. The last thing I want to be doing is getting in the shower and washing my face. Meanwhile, here is this mum who is probably not able to have a shower by herself, let alone have it be longer than 2 fucking minutes. And here, my ungrateful ass is dragging my feet at the thought of it. I really don't know how people do it. I don't know how she's doing it. I feel like I'm having a mental breakdown every other fucking day, you know, and at the very least, I'm not hearing, Mum, Mommy, Mama, Mum, play with your fucking toys and shut the fuck up, Mommy's crying. No, I wouldn't actually treat a child like that, okay? But you get my point.
And I know that he gives me, it's not him, it's not my husband, like, he gives me breaks and stuff, but I just, like, you can't ever just take a day off of parenting. Like, you can't just go like, I need a sick day, I'm gonna take a mental health day, I'm gonna take a day to recharge so that I could be a better mom tomorrow or for the next fucking month.
And look, being child-free and making that very conscious decision on not having kids for that very reason, knowing that I would be giving up so much of my life, because being a parent, being a good parent rather, is such a fucking selfless act. To birth the kid, to raise the kid, to set that kid up for success for the rest of their fucking lives. But I know for a fact I just don't have it in me. I don't want that kind of responsibility. Yes, does that sound selfish? Could that be perceived as a very selfish thing? Maybe. What I think is more selfish is bringing a child into the world for selfish reasons, like just having a kid for the fuck of it, because that's what we're supposed to do.
Or 2 months or 3 months. You can't do that. And it's like, yes, I could ask my mom for help, or, you know, like, I'm lucky enough to do that, but realistically, as parents, like, until you're doing it, you don't realize how fucking hard it is. And I'm just taking, 2 minutes and 30 seconds and counting to myself, and I feel so much guilt because I know that I left my baby in her crib to sit there and just, like, chill for a second because I'm overwhelmed. And I need a minute, and I needed to vent and get it off my chest.
How do you think you got here in the first place? You didn't allow yourself to really have those emotions. And I understand it's harder for parents to do because you don't want to be putting that onto your kids, but that's kind of how you also teach them empathy. This is exactly what I mean when I say your time to yourself is so fucking important. Hobbies are so fucking important to have, because the reality of it is you are going to get to an age where the children are all grown up, they have left the nest, they have their own lives to deal with, and here you are. Your entire identity just came down to being a parent, to being a mum. You don't really have anything that you've built over the years. And sure, you can develop interests and hobbies at any age, at any point in life, really. But I feel like it becomes a lot harder when people people are just so set in their ways. They truly believe that their one purpose in this life was to become a parent. Look, I've spoken to so many parents where they have had kids and they're all grown up and they've left the house, but one thing remains apparent: their inability to see themselves outside of being a parent, because that is what their identity has become over the past, 20 so odd years. And I find that to be a very critical problem, because what this does, and it becomes a massive burden on children when this happens, parents rely so much on their children to give them never-ending happiness. I mean, that's one of the main reasons why they brought them into the world to begin with, is because they thought this child was going to be their only source of happiness, because they couldn't really be bothered finding that in any other area. So that means you have to be there for your parent at the drop of a hat. You have to be their therapist. You have to be their husband or wife. You have to be everything for them. And that's fucking exhausting, because then you can't really live your own life and you can't do things that you want to do, because you always have to be at the beck and call for somebody whose only source of happiness comes from you. And I'm sorry, that's a really terrible thing to put onto a child. There is so much more to life than just raising kids. A lot of people hear that and they think, so the only reason you're not having kids is because they'd be hard and your life would be hard. Yeah, don't know why anyone would want to sign up for that. Sure, there are people out there who genuinely want children. I'm not really debating that. But I just look at stuff like this and I'm just like, why would you even want to have kids? Genuinely.
Before having children, I seriously urge you guys to please consider the fact that you will never know happiness again. That's all there is to it. You won't. Every day fucking sucks. Every single day. Every single day. I would say 8 out of 10 days are bad days. If you are someone that values your house being clean or having a clean space, don't have children. If you are someone who values your sleep, don't have children. If you are someone who has issues with regulating your emotions, don't have children. If you are someone with not a lot of patience, don't have children. If you want any peace in your life, don't have children. Like, I'm so serious, guys, please. Like,
I am so glad that we are finally starting to realize that this carbon copy cutout lifestyle that has been forced down our throats for decades is a lifestyle that is not for everybody. You truly have to be a selfless individual, one who is devoted to raising a child no matter the circumstances. Because tell me why people treat this decision of having children like it's a matter of, do I want Coke or do I want Pepsi today? Shout out to Pepsi. We only like Pepsi around here. I value my sleep and I already have to put up with my 2 little ass critters who want to run around and make a ruckus at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, what are we doing up at the witching hour, you little fuckers? I value my hobbies. I value doing spontaneous things. I value my ability to do whatever the fuck I want, because I don't have the responsibility of taking care of a whole ass human being. And for some reason, that's always seen as selfish. How is it selfish to know what I want in life and to make the decisions that, well, fit my life? And I know for damn sure, all of those things that I value, kids would just destroy. I do want to acknowledge that this mum may be struggling with postpartum depression or another kind of mental health issue. But unlike unlike the TikTok comments, I am not a licensed professional to comment on this woman's mental health. But its responses like, my child is my happiness, I don't understand this generation. Are we talking about the same generation that is really open with our emotions, unlike prior generations that bottle it all up and make it their kids' problems? Right. I love how this person proceeds to make a comment on how good their situation is, as if any other situation cannot exist in the same plane of existence. I know that this video is going to attract a lot of people telling me just how wrong I am. And I know nothing about being a parent, so why the fuck am I talking? You definitely would not be the first, nor will you be the last person to tell me that kind of shit. But this inability to understand what someone else might be going through is genuinely fucking exhausting and honestly pretty uneducated. I do think her saying you will never know happiness again is a bit stark, considering this is something that is going to be on the internet forever. This woman has had thousands of hate comments and she still left the TikTok up, so I can at least respect that. No child deserves to bear the load of their parents' regret. I may be the child my mum regrets having, but no one knows how many nights I stayed up trying to be a better child. This really isn't fucking okay, because the negative impact of knowing that you were regretted, your entire existence just chucked out the window. You know, it would have been so much better for your parents to not have had you at all, because then they'd actually be able to live out everything they wanted to do in life, as if they couldn't fucking think that far ahead. No child should ever have to wonder if their parent loves them, let alone try and be a better child to better suit the parent's needs. Because what it sounds like to me is the parent needs to fucking do some changing. Why have we normalized making every fucking life's problem the child's fault? I hate remembering things I don't want to. Like, no, I don't want to reminisce on the time my mother told 5th grader me she regretted having me and I was a disappointment. No amount of explaining away could ever excuse telling a child this. I don't care how angry you were, really. I don't even care what the kid did. You don't ever tell a child that you regret having them. That is something that you keep to yourself and you take to the fucking grave, because that kid had no decision. She had no say in being born. So it's really unfair to say, well, I regret having you. Did you consult her before having her? No, because that's not possible. That is exactly why you need to think about these life-changing decisions a lot more than just a couple of months. The amount of kids over on TikTok who know for a fact that their existence, their entire being is regretted because their parents felt like they could do better in life without them, is so sad to me. Kids don't deserve that, man. They really don't. There are better ways of conveying negative emotions. You know, even if you do feel regret for a child, they should never know that. They should never, ever, ever carry the weight of having known that if they weren't born, their parent would be better off. I don't think that's right. Not at all. If you have ever told a child that you regret having them, I fucking hate you. I really don't like you. So I'm going to leave it here for today, guys, because this was quite the long video and we didn't even get to touch on everything that I wanted to talk about. So with all of that being said, everybody, if you have anything that you would like to share with me down in the comment section below, feel free. Or if you don't feel comfortable enough posting that kind of stuff publicly, email me at dramakweensubmissions@gmail.com. Thank you so much for coming out to Yappersville today, everybody. I really appreciated having you here. Take care of yourselves and most of all, love your fucking selves.